All right, thanks, Jamie. Well, cell phones, schoolwork, computers, bullying, drugs, alcohol, this is what we have to talk about in middle school. It's hard to believe, but it is a big time for change. So teacher, coach, parent, Joe Bruzzese is here, the author of this book, The Parent's Guide to the Middle School Years. Well, why did you write this?
You know, the middle school years, it's an incredible time. I mean, it's filled with a lot of energy and certainly its fair sense of challenges, but there's been so much written about the teen years in high school, and there's been a lot written about the early childhood years, but this is really that time where so much change is happening. And it's a neat opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between the childhood years when your child used to hold your hand and want to walk with you, and then years later when your child has become an adult. And this is kind of that transitionary time where you're really building that relationship. So I think the book, it bridges that gap.
Now, you are from Santa Barbara, but you were here last night talking to students and parents at Sudbrook.
I was.
So what did you hear from the students and the parents about frustrations and concerns?
Sure. It's interesting because one of the questions I always ask parents is, what are your top 5 concerns as your children enter the teen years? Number 1, peer pressure. Peer pressure. It's interesting because the United Boys and Girls Clubs of America, they surveyed 43,000 teens, and the teens said our number 1 concern, peer pressure. So both kids and parents are thinking about the same thing.
That's got to be positive that they're worried about the same things, because then they can tackle it, right?
That's right. You hope that they would work together as a team, and I think that's a big part of it. Parents and kids really sitting down now and having those conversations about what are some of the tough issues. And you really talked about them, the bullying, the drugs and alcohol. How do I find friends, and how do I keep those friends? And what really struck me last night, and this is the first time that anyone has ever said this, one of the kids was there, a 6th grader, and he said, my greatest concern is isolation. That really struck me. I said, do you mean not having any friends? And he said, yeah. So kids are really concerned about the social issues, and that's why I took all of those issues and really put them up front in chapter number 1 of the book, because I think that's really what parents and kids are most focused on, is that friendship issues and the social issues and everything surrounding that.
It's so different now with social networking and, you know, cell phones and computer games. Is that hard for parents to understand?
Well, I think
because a lot of times you hear, like, well, when I was a kid we didn't have to deal with that, so
Sure.
Why is this an issue now?
Sure. And I'm sure you remember saying to your own parents, oh, you just don't understand. You know, they would talk about, you would talk about, yeah, the homework, right, and you don't understand the friendships. But when you talk about social networking and Facebook and MySpace, you really don't understand as a parent. I mean, there's a huge gap in knowledge there. So how do you bridge that gap with your child as well? Because it is a unique time, and I think there are some real concerns about social networking. And so it's a new relationship that you're building with your kids, really based on a lot of trust, and you're asking your child to help guide you through some of that because you simply don't have that new information.
Well, we're out of time, but this sounds like a great place to start, the book. Where can people find it?
You, of course, can find it online at Amazon, but if you check your local independent bookseller, that seems to be where folks are really finding the most number of copies. You can just check your local independent bookseller.
All right. Well, it must be interesting.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
All right. It's great to be here.
Susan.